Hello and welcome. You're watching India Global. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. Let's get you the big stories that we are tracking in this episode, including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's historic visit to India. Ministers, CEOs and representatives are there as UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer lands in India for a two-day visit with largest ever business contingent to bolster trade ties. This is the first visit of a British Prime Minister to India in 9 years. All eyes on the evolving trade partnership. Ongoing former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's trial in Bangladesh heats up. Defense lawyers barred from questioning investigators about massive police killings that took place in July 2024. The big question is, will Sheikh Hasina be given a fair trial? Major fallout of the political gridlock in America. Hundreds of aviation employees are now working unpaid and thousands of flights are now grounded across America as federal shutdown hits the skies. And India celebrates Air Force Day 2025. 1 billion hearts thanked the warriors, soaring the blue skies and keeping us safe. Camera. All right, our top story on India Global. Well, in his largest contingent ever, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is in India on a two-day visit to promote a recently signed trade deal and will hold talks with Prime Minister Modi. Now, from business to fintech to defense, the talks between the two prime ministers will be wide-ranging. And in fact, they will push ahead as far as their common trade goal of $120 billion by 2030 is concerned. That will mean about a 3 times increase as far as trade between the two sides are concerned, and that's the big ambition as far as the two sides are concerned. Now, visas are unlikely to feature as a key agenda item, but the priority will be on business. Now, viewers, the West is increasingly becoming wary of Donald Trump's America First economic agenda. The altered economic realities that they are now facing because of the continuing Russia-Ukraine war means far more economic opportunities for India, the world's 4th largest economy. And the FTA provides the perfect starting point to what is now a comprehensive and strategic bilateral relationship, which is why the fact that the two leaders will be speaking and addressing CEOs as part of the FinTech Fest is extremely significant and some would say fitting as far as now the evolving India-UK relationship is concerned. To talk more on this, the facets that lie ahead, what is it that we should be looking in terms of milestones? Let's get in. Jayant Krishna is a senior fellow of CSIS, former group CEO of UK India Business Council, and with him is Lord Rami Ranger, member of the UK House of Lords, joining me on the broadcast. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking to me on India Global. In fact, Lord Rami, let me start with you in terms of what lies ahead. You're a very prominent member of a very large, vibrant diaspora of Indians in the UK, and I'm going to come to that in just a bit. But your expectations of the visit of the Prime Minister and the significance it lies just months after the FTA that was signed in July this year.
Thank you very much for having me. This is a mother of all free trade agreement between the largest and the oldest democracy, sharing each other's values, secular, democratic, rule of law at the heart of their governance. Both speak English, both are not stranger to each other. They had 200 years of history together, and they both need each other. One is growing at the rapid speed of 8%, given the size of the market is huge. The other one is now left the European community, needs allies, need partners, and business trade is all about cooperation, collaboration. Government of India has provided the businessman a platform for them to take advantage of it. And in business they say hidden talent is no talent. The Indian and the British businessmen have to link together, have to form strategic alliances to build a very big, powerful network and a global industry. For example, India provides a scale of production. You've seen that at the time of COVID. I am already talking to the defense secretary that we should be moving our production, defense production to India for two reasons. First, our defense industry is contracting where India's defense industry is expanding. So
Right.
therefore, it is very, very important that we link together to produce products in India, then
That's a
compete with
very
China
important point
because
you mentioned, Lord Rami. In fact, I was coming to defense in just a bit, that how important that will also be. Defense manufacturing, defense production. India is a very large market, and integrating there for British companies will be very important. I'm going to come on defense in just a bit. Let's get in Mr. Krishna as well on his expectations of the largest ever business delegation that is there, from universities to culture to trade, all of them wooing the India market like never before.
Absolutely, Gauri. It brings me back to my years at UK India Business Council when I was the group CEO, and we used to co-host the CEO forum. I think this record has beaten all previous records hollow, and this is surely the largest ever visit of business people, industry captains from UK to India. And, as the UK itself has said that, this trade deal is the biggest trade deal they have signed post-Brexit. So after so many years, such an important, milestone has been achieved, and it has taken the tenure of 4 different British prime ministers, Boris to Rishi and to the current Prime Minister and Liz Truss also. So I think it is very, very important. It has some very high-powered CEOs and chairmen and so on and so forth, from British Petroleum to Rolls-Royce to British Telecom to Diageo to British Airways.
You name the works.
Lot of
all of them
there.
are there. But in terms of sectors, though I know this is not an FTA-centric conversation, but given the fact that the Prime Minister's visit is business-centric, in your assessment, where do you see the big fillip really likely to come? I mean, on one end, there is labor-intensive footwear, toys and others, where there's expectation. But in your assessment, Mr. Krishna, where do you think that big inflection point really lies going forward now?
So I fundamentally believe that, there'll be a comprehensive review of, the UK-India Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, which is already there. And other than trade and investment, I think the obvious areas will be defense and security. There will be, climate change. There'll be health, education, and above all, people-to-people ties. I think that's very important. I think sectors which UK tends to gain the most out of the recent FTA are car and automobiles, whiskey, food and drinks, and so on and so forth. If you look at drinks, the whiskey and gin and these kind of products, the duty is already down from 150% to 75%,
Right.
and gradually it will come to 40%. Auto from 100% it will come to 10% under a quota regime. So I think these are the sectors
across
which
the board there'll be a lot of focus. And Philip, Lord Rami, as two things I want to ask you. One is on the diaspora bit. I said I'm going to touch on that. 65,000 companies are owned by the diaspora members in the UK. 75% of them are highly employed, pay taxes, have multiple asset ownership. So they're a very critical part of the UK economy. In terms of the elevation of ties between UK and India, how significant the role will be for diaspora going forward? That's the first thing I want to ask you. And the second part is going to be political in nature, which is around several other aspects. When you talk about defense, we spoke about manufacturing, but the other strategic ambitions and goals that India has, do you see that being aligned to the UK government now more?
First of all, Britain is a trading nation. It has to trade to survive. We are in a small island. If we don't trade, we have to look globally. We have been looking globally right from the day one. So therefore, UK-India trade offers a great opportunity to both the businessmen to collaborate and cooperate and build a strategic alliance. We need each other. Britain is a few years ahead of India, and India needs everything from shipbuilding to aircraft to fifth generation planes, pharmaceutical, IT. As my previous speaker said, there's so much to cooperate with each other. But again, hidden talent is no talent. the Indian and British government has worked 4 years to produce this agreement. So therefore, now it is up to the businessmen to take advantage of that. You can take somebody to the well, but you can't make them drink. If these people don't come out to exhibit their product and services in United Kingdom and vice versa, then we will lose out this great opportunity, because the world is moving very fast and we have to move faster. So therefore, I urge to all you Indian businessmen and traders to come to United Kingdom, exhibit through
Right.
the facility government has offered you. We are there. Indian diaspora, you mentioned Indian diaspora is one of the most successful diaspora because it's a product of secular and democratic country. We are taught to use merit, not race or religion. That's why
Right.
we integrate wherever we go, and blue chip companies are run by Indian diaspora. So it's one of the most successful diaspora, and more
Lord
countries
Rami,
have
final
realized.
question I want to ask you, sir, which is that what would be that big headline that you would be looking out for in the program tomorrow and the joint statements that will come out when the two prime ministers will be addressing the CEOs and, of course, larger communities?
First of all, I would like to see that we are collaborating on the defense, because defense has become even more important for India, because the President Trump has started to divide and rule, giving Pakistan state-of-the-art equipment just to wrong-foot India. But therefore, it is very, very important that we improve our defense by collaborating with Britain. Britain is a few years ahead, and we can together build a world-class defense industry like JCB. Have now 3 factories. They started one. They can now compete with China. We can export to third world developing countries our product made half the price in India. And also space program is very important. We should collaborate on space, because one small country cannot compete with America or European community. So we need to have partners like India, which share our values, and they are no stranger to each other.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on this edition of India Global. We're going to decode this in greater detail as the two prime ministers address the CEOs tomorrow. Well, as far as bottom line is concerned, viewers, India and UK are the 4th and the 6th largest economies in the world. Their coming together can build a lot in terms of the synergies. And prima facie, there are 2 which really stand out. One, of course, is that in Trump's land, given the fact that there are global tariffs, there is huge uncertainty. India, UK coming together, building on their economic synergies would really mean that they could sort of Trump-proof themselves and their countries from the uncertainties and vagaries of American politics. And the second aspect is that defense production is turning out to be one of the key highlights of India's Make in India campaign, where the UK companies can play a very important role. And as far as political and strategic goals are concerned, there is now greater realization amongst UK that they need to be aligned to India's aspirations to play a larger role in the Indo-Pacific. All right, viewers, turning attention now to the other story that we're tracking on the show. Well, this is about Bangladesh. It seems that tensions ran high in Dhaka as defense lawyers were barred from questioning an investigator about police killings. We are talking about Sheikh Hasina's trial that's underway. She's been charged with some very serious crimes. But when her lawyers raised the issue of police killings, suddenly all of it became out of syllabus. It seemed that the crimes and the police killings that the defense lawyers were bringing up, the International Crimes Tribunal said that none of this can be taken in this court and will not be allowed. Which brings me to ask the larger question that when you raise the issues and which the defense lawyer raised about Sirajganj, Jaitrabari and Rampura and several others, why is it that the court shut it down? Why is it that it became an issue that this will not be in the ambit of this particular court? The defense also challenged the legitimacy of evidence that was gathered solely by the CID, alleging huge bias. Meanwhile, a separate investigation into the Awami League as an organization has also begun, which makes us wonder, is this a witch hunt? Will there be a fair trial? And more importantly, what's the larger goal here? Is the larger goal to provide justice, or is it to ensure that Awami League is not in a position to contest in the upcoming elections? Mohammad Kamarzan, who's a senior journalist, joins me to talk more on the situation right now. Mr. Mohammad, your thoughts on how this trial is going right now. The question that many are asking is, will Sheikh Hasina get a fair trial?
Thank you very much for having me after many days. Actually, these international crime tribunals started its trial after August 5, and they seemingly showed that they are so much interested to ensure international standard trial. And even we saw that there were open trial with live broadcast by the media. But the recent issue that you have raised, of course, this should be very transparent, and nothing should be barred. Actually, you know that after the fall of Sheikh Hasina last year, people's awareness has been raised a lot. So anything should not be accepted that may raise question about the fair trial of Sheikh Hasina. But the reality is that
Mohammed, one thing I want to ask you is, it's okay to broadcast the trial live. You could also be broadcasting it because you have a, there may be some political points to be scored by telling everybody that Sheikh Hasina and, her crimes, alleged crimes, are all being brought to book. By televising that, there's also a larger political message that is being sent. So let's not just say it is in the spirit of fair justice that this is being done. But as far as the larger question is, which is, it seems that Awami League is the real target, and to ensure that they are not able to contest in the upcoming elections in February.
You have to understand that, please let me say just a few sentences. You have to understand that this crime tribunal started its trial during the Sheikh Hasina regime, and Sheikh Hasina formed this tribunal. And there were so many unexpected incidents in this tribunal, for example, abducting of eyewitness and many other questionable issues were raised at the time. So after the fall of Sheikh Hasina, the live broadcasting was a good development and people accepted it positively. But now if the lawyer was not able to work freely, that is of course a questionable matter that you have raised. And of course, it should not be happen this way as we are seeing now. Everything should be very clear. Fact is that many crimes of crimes against humanity during the July uprising is very clear. And there are so many, so many visuals even available on social media and mainstream media. And even the order of Sheikh Hasina or the high-ups of the then government regarding the mass killing, very clear, and it has already been proved through vivid evidence. So no need to take shelter of such kind of activities that the lawyers of Hasina should be barred. I don't know why this type of incident is happening. It's very unexpected and it should not be happening.
Final question is,
the trial, of course, should be very transparent and very
trial should be transparent. That's a very, very important thing that you're mentioning. Final thing I want to ask is, which is that, what about Awami League? Separate investigations into the political outfit ahead of elections. What does that stand for?
There is a debate you have raised very well that whether Awami League will take part in the upcoming national election or not. Actually, there is a revolution, though there is a debate whether it's a revolution or uprising. In case of a revolution, or the way Sheikh Hasina was ousted was totally in the work of a mass uprising. So now the question is that that is also a mandate of mass people according to the demand of the opposition politicians of Sheikh Hasina. So it's a debatable matter. And what the interim government can do, I think, is that they can take a consensus, or it may be a mass voting now whether Awami League will given the opportunity to take part in the election. As there was a revolution last year and Awami League was ousted with many allegations of human rights violation, even there is allegations of genocide. So this should be solved now through a mass voting, I think. Otherwise, this issue will be very difficult in the coming days, and the upcoming national election may be questionable based on these issues, especially the international communities may raise this question.
Absolutely. That is what everybody would be asking, as to whether these elections will actually have any meaning or will represent the mandate of the people or not. I'm going to leave it there. Mohammad Kamrazan, thanks much for speaking to me on India Global. Well, viewers, on that note, we are slipping into a very short break. We come back on the other side and talk more about, what really is the latest turmoil that's happening in American skies, and can political gridlock in America actually improve to solve this crisis? We come back and talk more on that. Stay with us. Well, viewers, travel turmoil is now sweeping American skies. Thousands of flights were delayed across the U.S. yesterday. This as a worsening air traffic controller shortage collided with day 7 of the federal government shutdown. Now, from Chicago to Nashville to Las Vegas to Philadelphia, critical FAA facilities face dangerously low staffing. This forcing flight slowdowns and even temporary shutdowns at some control towers. In fact, in Memphis, what happened was that flight control was handed off in Nashville to Memphis after the tower shut down for 5 hours. The FAA confirms it's slowing air traffic into key hubs to maintain safety. Why? Because there is a huge political gridlock and both sides, the Democrats and Republicans, cannot come together to decide what should be American budget. And these are all the ramifications that people of America are actually facing because of that. There are unpaid controllers who continue to work 10-hour shifts, 6 days a week. Union leaders warn the system is now critically fragile. Only 11,000 certified controllers are handling 45,000 flights, millions of passengers daily. How long before something snaps? Let's get in a word from Vipul Saxena, who's an aviation expert, joins me on the broadcast. Mr. Saxena, pressure is mounting. National Air Traffic Controller Association is now calling on lawmakers to end this shutdown immediately. Are you hopeful that as things stand right now, this is really that critical threshold that has been reached, and hopefully this will become the trigger for lawmakers to finally agree to a federal budget?
Yeah, I think this will be a big pressure on the Congress to approve the budget, or at least I think what minimum should be done is what happens like even in India, there are certain services which are called emergency services, and services which cannot go on strike, cannot go on, any kind of protest. So I'm very surprised that in case of shutdown, how can they expect people to come on emergency services, but they will not be paid? I think this need to be reviewed by Congress, and at least
Mr. Saxena, from a safety point of view, tell us what happens when there are very critically low number of people who are manning these many flights, taking care of these many passengers. What's the safety protocol that is now being not fulfilled?
See, the safety that if you do not have sufficient number of air traffic controllers, it puts additional pressure on the people who are coming on duty, and those who are coming on duty also will not have proper morale, because they know they are coming on duty, but they will not be paid for it. So it causes a big safety threat in terms of so some kind of human error which can create some kind of catastrophe. So I think that's a big danger which is currently happening on the US skies.
Mm-hmm. And finally, the fact that there are such long delays, passengers are being impacted. What about their plight? Who is listening to them? The fact that services have been so massively deteriorated.
Yeah, but the thing is that in this case, air traffic controllers cannot do anything. It is purely the airlines which are suffering, because departures are not happening, because the people are not available to serve the airlines, and that is why all these delays are happening. And it has a cascading effect. If suppose one flight gets delayed from New York to say Bombay, or say New York to some other place, and there's a connecting flight, so
right,
it affects the further course for the passenger. Okay. And people who are coming for some important meeting or some treatment.
That is how it ends up getting impacted. I'm going to leave it there, sir. Thanks much for speaking to me on India Global. The Aviation Union in America is saying that the system is on brink. The fact is, will political differences on both sides be overcome to ensure these dangerous low levels of safety as far as aviation is concerned do not sink any further? Well, viewers, on that note, as we wrap things up on this edition of India Global, we leave you with these visuals that are coming in. India celebrates its 93rd Air Force Day today. We leave you with these beautiful visuals as a billion hearts say thank you to our air warriors.